All new today. His mother calls him
the world's biggest moocher. Gimme, gimme, gimme.
Now.
You have no income, zero, nothing, zilch.
She's finally getting up the nerve to evict him.
You didn't do any chores, you didn't have her around the house, and you invited friends to come live there with you.
She invited us to come stay with her.
That's not true.
What do you mean you won't leave? It isn't your house. You don't live there.
They were trying to throw us out immediately.
It's her house. If you're in my house and I want you out, your butt's on the sidewalk. I'll guarantee you. Coming up. Let's do it. I want you to get excited about your life.
Here we go. Stand by, get
If you're going to talk to me, you're going to have to be honest.
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
Showtime. This is going to be a changing day in your life.
Stand by, A, and roll A. Check in. Go, Dr. Phil.
Today, we're talking about a different kind of moocher. Today, we're talking about what people call mega moochers. Now, not only do these extreme freeloaders refuse to work decades at a time, but they expect you to support them and their entire family forever. Now, my first guest, Connie, says the word mega moocher describes her son, Richard, to a T. She says he is so lazy and selfish that he actually found a way to put her out of her own home so he could move his family of 5 into the house. Take a look.
My 33-year-old son, Richard, is the world's biggest moocher. Richard's pattern is to mooch off of friends, live on people's couches. Richard borrowed money he never paid back. He would take money out of my wallet. It's always gimme, gimme, gimme. Richard actually takes his girlfriend's food stamps and her child support and spends it all.
That's not true at all.
He needs to get a good swift kick in the butt and get out there and work like the rest of the world.
There are 5 of us in our family. My girlfriend, Darlene, her 2 teenage children, and we have a 3-year-old son together.
While I was with my new husband, Rick, he had a job in Dallas. I was commuting back and forth to my home in New Jersey. My mom was there dog sitting. They moved in with my mother for a couple of weeks. They have now been in there 18 months and have cost us over $30,000.
My grandmom was happy to have our company.
They were just robbing my mother.
I think he's hopeless. I have never met a person like this before. He hasn't paid anything, nothing.
Richard tends to have something wrong with him all the time. He goes from one doctor to another doctor.
I'm having problems with my back.
Now, we finally filed for eviction.
We need more time. My mother is now trying to throw us out. We have no place to go.
Even if I wanted to take care of my grandson, and I would, but I refuse to raise those adult bums. He's putting his own children in jeopardy because he can't keep a roof over their head.
Okay, what's going on here? We've got a mother and son that are basically going to court, evicting, lawyers, all of that. How did we get in this situation?
Yeah, I don't know how we got here. It's out of control now. It's out of control.
What do you say about that?
I think that she's blowing things a little out of proportion. She invited us to come stay with her. Okay, I had a house of my own. We were going to try to do the Chapter 13 and try to save our home. It was her suggestion to come home and stay with her at her home. And now all of a sudden it's time to go.
That's not true. From the very beginning, I said you could not come to live with us. First of all, the city wouldn't allow it. And second of all, I couldn't afford to keep you. You have no income, zero, nothing, zilch.
Okay, why are you here? Why did you come here today?
She says that we're here mooching, and we're not.
Okay, you're 33 years old?
Yes.
Okay. Are you pulling your own weight?
No, I'm not right now.
Have you ever pulled your own weight?
Yes, I have.
When?
I've had my ups and downs in my past.
Well, in 1990, you were 19. You were married to your first wife, and she had 3 jobs, and you had none.
That's not true.
Is that true or not?
That is true.
You either just blatantly lied to us, or you're not telling it straight now. When you were 20, You returned to your mother's house, but you didn't pay, you didn't do any chores, you didn't help around the house, and you invited friends to come live there with you.
That's not true.
When you're 21, you were kicked out with a restraining order, and you broke into your van so you could sleep in the van.
He was sleeping in the van.
I don't recall that.
Don't recall that. At 22, you returned. You threatened Connie and her second husband, and they had to get a second restraining order on you. I've got copies of these, so.
Is that when you pulled the starter pistol on me?
It wasn't a starter pistol. It was a tear gas gun.
Okay.
And that was proven in the court of law and by a ballistics expert, and it was all dropped.
Okay.
Okay, but is that wrong too? Is it wrong that there was another restraining order filed on you then a second time? Your own mother's having to file restraining orders on you?
I don't recall these, to be honest with you.
You don't recall these?
I recall the one. I don't recall.
Would you like to see them?
Dr. Phil, I will take your word for it.
Okay.
I mean, it's just
All
been
right.
a long time.
At 25, you found him on the corner, and you'd kicked him out, but you brought him back, and then you kicked him out 6 or 7 more times. You got an apartment with a girlfriend, you furnished it, lost the apartment. You got a house with a girlfriend, you furnished it, lost it. At 31, you moved in to your house while you were gone and basically ran your mother out.
Right, essentially.
And now at 33, you're in her house again, and you won't leave? She's had to go to court to get you out? What do you mean you won't leave? It isn't your house. You don't live there.
Well, the way she's trying to go about doing this is just sudden, and
Richard, this is going on 2 years.
this is not going on 2 years.
2 years,
You told, you
18
told
months.
us, what, 2 months ago, 3
8.
months ago, we're coming to clean at the house, and that's it. And that's fine. And we understood that you're moving on with your life. We understood that you're moving on to bigger and better
Did
things.
you
That's
tell the
great.
police
We're
that
happy
she
for
was
you.
trespassing in her own house?
But when they started moving my stuff, my child's toys, and just throwing them out to the trash, yeah, I went to the police.
But whose house is it?
It's my house, and we were cleaning out the basement.
No, you
Okay,
weren't.
well,
No, you
why
weren't.
would you tell the police that she's trespassing when it's her house?
They were trying to throw us out immediately. And
It's her house.
I understand that.
If you're in my house and I want you out, your butt's on the sidewalk, I'll guarantee you. If I come home, if I come home and you're in my house and I want you gone, you're going to be gone. Did you tell the cops she was trespassing in her own house?
Basically, yes.
All right, we're going to take a break. Then I'm going to ask Richard why he blames his mother for the fact that he's broke and living in her house. We'll be right back. So you didn't want to say.
She called us up and told us we had 15 days to get out.
We shut off the gas and electric, and we shut off the telephone. And they're still camping on the floor.
I just want her to understand what I'm going through and be there for me and my family.
Richard doesn't seem to have a conscience. I think if he saw me bleeding in the street, he would step over me.
My mother has never given me anything really substantial. You know, I'm not looking for a handout. I'm just looking for a mother.
Well, today we're talking to what families say are mega moochers who take freeloading to a whole new level. Now, Connie says her 33-year-old son Richard's mooching ways has made her life a living hell. Now, she recently paid thousands of dollars to go to court and get him evicted from the house, but says he's still giving her grief about being forced to leave. Listen, my interest here is in helping you get on your feet. But do you want to get on your feet?
Yes, I do, 100%.
Because you seem to have a sense of entitlement. I mean,
That's a good word.
That it's just like, okay, I'm entitled to be here. She's my mother. And therefore, in your words, she's mean if she's putting me out.
Now, I don't feel entitled to anything.
Okay, is she required to take care of you the rest of your life?
Absolutely not.
Okay, well, she wants it over now.
And I want it over now, too. I'm ready to move on with my life.
Then why have you gone to court and resisted this? Why have you made her get a lawyer? Why have you made her bring proof that she, in fact, owns the house and that you're not a renting tenant, and therefore she has to go through all the eviction laws with notice and all of that sort of thing? Your mother has said, son, go away. Get out. And you said, I don't feel entitled, but I'm going to make her go through the court system to get me out.
We needed time. We needed more time. They want to throw us out in 3 days with 3 kids.
And how long have you been in that house?
About 11 months.
It's been 18.
It's been 18 months.
No.
Okay, well, we calendared it out, and by your own reports, as you went through your pre-interviews, of when you got there to now is a little over 18 months.
Well, I have to go over that because I'm not
Okay,
really
let's say
sure.
it's...
I'm not really sure.
Okay, let's say it's 11 months.
Right.
Just
Okay.
throw out 7 months, and it's 11 months. So, what is your job plan?
I'm currently seeing surgeons and attempting to have some injections and possibly a spinal fusion to maybe help with my back problems. And
Because you can't work because of your back.
Well, I can't work the jobs that I know.
Yeah. Because we actually talked to your surgeon, and he doesn't say that you can't work at all.
Oh, and I've never said that I can't work at all.
Oh, well, good. So you can work.
Yes.
Okay, then let's focus on that. My timeline that I've constructed here is that you haven't really worked since 1990.
No, I have worked. I work a seasonal job at the local port.
Let's put it this way. You haven't held a steady job and been self-sufficient since 1990. But you can work, right?
To a point. I can work a few weeks and then I'm down for a few weeks.
All right, let's take a break. I need to rest for a minute. So how does Connie feel about having her 3 grandchildren homeless and on the streets? Because that's kind of the conflict that we're headed towards. That's a tough call. We'll talk about that when we come back.
My biggest concern, there's 3 children, and they're about to be evicted.
My mother put me in this predicament, and she's just throwing us to the sharks.
Now they have to get out. It's the judge's word.
Well, today's guests say they are sick and tired of a relative's never-ending mooching ways. Now, Connie says she is so disgusted by her son's excessive mooching that if it wasn't for his 3 children, her grandchildren, she would have written him off a long time ago. Now, at the break, you were saying 2 things. One, you're lying. Mother, you're lying. And when she saw the grandkids in the video and got emotional, you said, yeah, we'll say goodbye.
It's upsetting to me that, I mean, a lot of it's true. I'm not saying that none of it's true, but a lot of it's being blown out of proportion, and I wasn't expecting all this.
Well, put it in perspective for us then. The parts that have been blown out of proportion, please clarify it, because we want a balanced story here. So frame it up.
I've worked since I haven't been out of work since 1990. I've
Okay.
worked, you know, jobs, odd jobs here and there. I have worked. I worked a lot of seasonal jobs where I worked 9 months out of the year
Then he
and was
collected
laid off.
unemployment and,
Right,
and
that's
party all
what the
summer.
job. That's what the job was about. It was a seasonal job. I had no car, and it was accessible to me.
Okay, so you've worked odd jobs since 1990.
I've worked down the port from '95 until 2001.
Okay. So why you need to live at your mom's house then?
I don't want to.
Well, I didn't say you wanted to, but if you're self-sufficient and employed and doing well, why are you living at your mother's house? Let's just take your version of the story. Yes, I work quite frequently, actually. So therefore, I'm not a moocher. So why is she having to get the court to get you out of her house?
The only reason why the court was brought in was just so we can get enough time together to pack, to move, to find a place to go.
Okay, have you had that time?
Yes and no.
How long has it been since the court got involved? When did you actually go and say, okay, that's it?
When he called the police on us and had us evicted,
When
which
was that?
Was that beginning of August.
Okay, so you've had since August, September, October, November. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 months to get packed. You got a lot of stuff. You said we needed time to get packed. I said, have you had enough? You said, well,
Well,
you
more or
know.
less a place to live is basically what it boils down to.
Okay.
We got a phone call. We're coming in like 20 days. We're flying in. We're emptying out the house, and you got to go. And I said, Mother, before you come, we need more time. You can't just come in 20 days and empty the house out and throw us out on the street. And I said, you know.
Okay, but you're gonna, if she had done it then, it's really no different than the situation now, other than the fact that, because let me tell you something, if you were dragging me through court and making me get lawyers and stuff to get you out of the house, and then you were holding my grandchildren hostage as emotional extortion, where you're basically saying, okay, you do this to me, you can say goodbye to them, which I have heard you say on this stage in the last 3 minutes, we'd have a hard time getting along. I'd have a hard time. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. As difficult as that is, you cannot cave to that. And you've caved every time. But he's now telling you, you kick me out, you're kicking your grandchildren out. Your grandchildren are going to be homeless on the street. I mean, that's pretty much the story, right?
That's why we're here today.
Yeah, that's what I call emotional extortion. It's blackmail. It's emotional blackmail. You do what I want you to do, or I'm taking these kids and they're going to live on the street. They could get beaten, raped, kidnapped. Horrible things could happen to them.
Killing me inside.
That would never happen.
Yeah. So what are you going to do about it?
I've got to compartmentalize this, and I guess I have to let them all go, get them out of my house, and he's got to be a man. He's got to be responsible for his own life. I can't do it anymore.
Do you think? Do you think that you're going to live off of your mother for the rest of your life?
No,
What is your plan
I've
for-
never had intentions of it.
What is your plan for changing it? If you don't have a job, your job is finding a job.
Right,
And,
and
I
that's
think you should work at least as hard at finding a job
Right.
as you would work if you had a job.
Right.
If you had a job, you'd be getting up at 6, you'd be showering, going out at 7 o'clock, you'd be working till like 5, then you'd be coming home. You're putting in like 9 hours on your job. Seems to me if you don't have a job, you ought to work at least 9 hours finding a job every single day. And you don't do that. You could work with counselors, you could get vocational counselors, you could retrain for something else. There are any number of things you can do.
Right.
But and you're not doing any of those, are you?
I've been trying to do things. I mean, you know, this is just an upsetting situation that, you know, I don't want to put my mom through this, and you know, I can't believe it's come to this point. I mean, I understand her point of view, but
So where are you going to go when you leave?
I want to go home and take it from there.
You don't have a home.
Right.
You're going to go to her home, you mean?
And then until I have to leave. I mean, till the date I have to leave, and then where we end up is where we end up.
Okay, well, all right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Connie's new husband. We're going to find out his take on all of this and see if there is a plan and if there's a plan that can be put in place to get this father on his feet. We'll be right back. Well, we're back with Connie and her son Richard. And I mean, this has just devolved into a legal fight, lawyers' court, eviction notices, cops. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Connie thinks that once she gets her house back, that she may have to sell it because she says she spent a lot of money supporting her son and his family. Now, her new husband, Rick, has helped her pay expenses in the neighborhood of like $30,000. Now, what do you think about all of this?
I don't want on my conscience kicking 3 kids out of a house. I just don't want that on my conscience. So
Now, you're 33,
Yes.
and this, your husband, you're 3 years younger than your son, right?
And he's supporting my son.
How much stuff do you have in this house? Isn't all your stuff in storage?
Yeah, every day he flew home, the day they flew home, next thing you know, everything was out in the trash and the rest was in storage.
Who's paying for storage?
We are.
Okay, so all your stuff is in
There was no
storage.
reason for it to be in storage. They could have just easily left it there, and when we left, we could have just taken our stuff with us.
This is a phase program, though. They're like getting your stuff out, and they're going to get you out. You see,
I understand
We had a
that. I
plan.
agree and I understand.
where are you going when you leave? Because now you played your cards. You lied to the police in saying that she was trespassing and it wasn't her house. And
I never said that it wasn't her house. I said that they were taking our
did you have to
stuff.
prove it was your house? So you had to go down and prove it was your house, right?
Yes, I did.
Because you can't trespass on your own property. So,
Right.
so
And I told the police, I said, they need to stay here. They're more than welcome. And they... I'm just trying to...
I rest my case.
all right, okay. No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. You weren't trying. Okay.
I was trying to be civil about it, is what I meant. They were trying to... They came home, they were trying to move all this stuff out, make us feel uncomfortable and leave, and I understand that.
Yeah. Look, when you leave, where are you going?
It's a good question.
I mean, are you just going to be on the street?
Not sure.
Well, what's your other option?
There's not many options right now. We're just living day to day.
Does that bother you?
It eats me alive. Of course it does.
But not so much that you're out looking for a job every day, all day. I mean, are you doing everything you can do?
I could do more, honestly.
You can do a lot more, couldn't
Sure,
you?
absolutely.
Then why aren't you?
I need to. I really
Why
need
aren't
to.
you? What do you tell yourself when you get up every day and you just don't do anything?
I just feel frozen. I don't know if I'm depressed inside. I don't know.
If I get you a vocational counselor, I mean somebody that, no kidding, can match you up to jobs that don't require you to have a strong back to do it, to get out and work, will you work with them?
Absolutely.
I mean, really, to get you going, because you can't feel good about
No,
yourself
I
like this.
don't.
You want to be where you can walk in at night, close your door,
Right.
lock your door,
Yes.
tuck your child in, and go to bed knowing I'm pulling my weight.
Yes. Yes,
I mean, isn't that what you want?
Yes, I do.
And in the meantime, you're going to stick to your guns.
Yeah.
You
I
can't
have
go
to.
backwards now.
No, because I'm being sued or charged by the city for renting now to him. So they're saying that I am his landlord and he is my tenant, and that I don't have a certificate of occupancy. I'm going back to court again next week. It never ends.
Yeah, well, it needs to end. I mean, go find somebody with the city and say,
work
this
with
isn't a
others.
tenant, this isn't a tenant, this is my son.
We actually proved it in the county, but when the county sent over the documents, they said they wouldn't accept them. Now it has to be proven in the
We've
city court.
cooperated with my mother on this, saying that, whatever we need to do to help her. I don't want to hurt my mother anymore. I don't. I love my mom. I really do.
Okay, then what you need to do is sign whatever affidavits necessary to support this and go
And I
to
will.
another place. You just need to go. And I'm going to get you some help. We're going to give you an opportunity to get a job you can do and stand on your own 2 feet.
That sounds fantastic.
All right, coming up, a woman who says her 38-year-old brother is such a big moocher that he's been living with his 91-year-old grandfather for 18 years and has yet to pay rent or any of his bills. We'll be right back.
My 38-year-old brother Jeff, he's been living off my 91-year-old grandpa in his basement for 18 years.
He just took over the place.
I haven't done it intentionally. I've only had to stay here during downtimes, but it seems like since 1990, it's all been downtime.
Well, today we're talking about what family members call big-time freeloaders, people who they say refuse to work, even if that means asking others to take care of them for decades. Now, Janelle says that for the last 18 years, her brother Jeff has been mooching off their 91-year-old grandfather, and it's just time to stop. But Jeff says he just doesn't understand why everybody is making such a big fuss.
Do you think you'll be able to hold down a job so that you won't have to worry about other people helping you out?
My 38-year-old brother Jeff is a mega moocher. He's been living off my 91-year-old grandpa in his basement for 18 years.
He just took over the place.
To be called the Mega Moocher does hurt because I haven't done it intentionally. I've only had to stay here during downtime. But it seems like since 1990, it's all been downtime.
The amount of money that I have spent on Jeff over the years would be approximately $35,000.
Grandpa said he could stay there until he got on his own. Weeks have turned into months, months have turned into years. Nothing's changing. Grandpa has told me. My brother approached him and said, "Is there any money left in your inheritance that I can have today?" In all the years that my brother has lived with my grandpa, he's only paid $50 one time for rent.
This summer, I was given a slip from my sister that said, pay rent or leave. My sister Janelle has become involved what I consider to be my business between my grandfather and myself.
He's always full of excuses why he doesn't want to work.
The way I perceive it is as long as I don't have a family to support, I don't have to work as hard.
I was at a birthday party and I heard someone ask my brother, "What is it that you're doing nowadays?" And he said, "Well, I'm self-employed." And I about spit out my drink.
I like to be independent, but it's been difficult to be your own boss.
Last summer, I saw something on the side of the road. And when I got closer, I could see that it was my brother with an engine from a vehicle with a for sale sign on it. I was shocked. I just went, is this what he does all day long?
It's been 2 years that he's been trying to sell that engine.
The engine that I have and the rest of my truck parts I'm going to liquidate for the last time up at a swap meet.
I think he's banking on the sale of this car engine.
If I was able to sell everything, I should be around $2,000. So I'm doing it just for me, so I can move out of my grandfather's house.
Jeff, if your engine doesn't sell, what are you going to do?
Now that I have the van, if I have to, I can stay in it and keep selling my parts. I'm going to start talking to my youngest uncle to see if I can stay with him.
My brother said, life could be worse. I could be an alcoholic or I could be a drug addict. What's the difference? You're mooching.
Well, you just don't need much. Is that your position? It doesn't take much money if you live because you don't have a wife and kids to support and a bunch of bills to pay.
It takes less, but that's not an excuse.
But you're going to sell this engine.
Amongst other things.
On the side of the road? You're sitting on the side of the road to sell the engine?
That's not the only place I've sold it. I go to shows.
We haven't sold it at all, right? Because you only have one engine.
No, I've got several.
Oh, you've got several. Yeah. You put them together and then sell them?
Matter of fact, at the last swap meet, I sold the one that was in pieces.
Yeah. But selling it on the side of the road doesn't seem like a very good business plan.
Well, it's not in a ditch.
But you're like counting on somebody driving by and saying, you know, I love my car, I really do, if it just had an engine. You need to get where they sell these things, like auto shows and stuff like that.
I do.
Where you can get like a booth and sell it, and if you're selling auto parts, that could be a viable thing to do. How much have you sold?
Over the years?
No, say in the last year.
Several $100s.
Are you taking advantage of your grandfather?
I have.
Are you now going to leave there and start taking advantage of your uncle?
No.
Because you said you were thinking about moving to your uncle's
That was just one option. Him and I get along because he's into cars too. So he said, come down, we can find some work for you.
Yeah. What business is this of yours?
I guess that...
Good question, right?
Great question.
I see what he's done to my grandpa and my parents, and it breaks my heart.
Well, why don't they step up and say, stop this? I mean, why is this your job?
Because I feel like I've been on the sidelines for years and years and years, and nothing has
But maybe
changed.
you should be on the sidelines because he's not your kid.
He's not my kid.
They can tell him no, right?
I see what my parents have tried to do, and I've seen what Grandpa Rex tries to do. And sometimes when they approach him and confront him about possibly working or trying to find a job, he gets irritated, he gets angry, and they're afraid of what he might do when his temper flares, so they back off.
Are you violent?
I have been.
Yeah. And so if you leave your
But the violence has been towards my parents, not my grandfather.
Doesn't matter. He's afraid too because he's seen the violence towards my parents.
Are you intimidating your grandfather? I mean, is he afraid of you? Because he said you just came in and just kind of took over.
I haven't tried to intimidate him or bully him, no.
But you have your parents.
Yeah.
Why?
Not recently. When I was living with them, when I was a teenager, I would have gotten into arguments with my father. I mean, I wasn't trying to strong-arm him or anything.
Yeah. And so if you leave your grandfather's, you said you might live in that van.
If I had to.
Where'd you get the van?
I got it from a gal that I did some work for.
Yeah. Do you own it?
Yeah.
Have you paid her for it?
I haven't paid it off. I've given some money. Well, she was kind enough. She says, go ahead and take it. I understand your situation, and I've known her for some time now. And she says, go ahead and take it, and when you can, pay me off. So I told her I said I appreciated that.
Okay. Well, next, I've got a couple of questions for Jeff, and we'll talk about that when we come back.
In 1989, my brother ended up at Grandpa Rex's house. It started out 18 years ago as just a temporary situation.
I've been wanting to leave. I just haven't been able to.
Jeff seems to have no problem depending on other people for his entire existence.
I have one last chance this year to sell my Chevy parts that I've accumulated up at the fairgrounds. If I don't sell enough of my parts, then we'll have to stay in town and peddle the parts on the main street in order to pay off my debts. We may leave here shortly. The engine didn't sell.
Well, that was Jeff at a swap meet trying to sell his engine. He did make $205 selling other car parts, but was unsuccessful selling the engine that he's been trying to sell for a couple of years. Now, today we're talking about family members that are described by their family as moochers. They refuse to get a job. They expect to be taken care of by others. Now, Janelle says she's fed up with her 38-year-old brother expecting their 91-year-old grandfather to support him for the rest of his life. Now, do you expect others to take care of you?
No.
But yet you allow them to do it, right? You're at your grandfather's house, so
I have asked for assistance, and I've been turned down. I've been denied, and it seems like my grandfather has come through every time.
Well, you seem able-bodied. I mean,
yes,
you're young, you're strong, you're intelligent. It seems. I mean, I was saying the same thing to Richard. I mean, you could work. At this point, you just really feel like you don't need a lot of money, so why go out and get all engaged, right?
Well, I do work. I'm self-employed. I just like being on my own, independent, doing that.
What do you mean on your own, independent?
I don't have a boss. I'm not getting up, like you say.
Maybe you need a boss. Maybe you need to start with a boss. Start at the bottom and work your way to the top.
Because this is what Janelle says, that your typical day, that you'll wake up as late as 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll ride your bike over to your parents' house and have breakfast at like 5:30.
Yeah, it's not every day.
No, I know, not
time,
every day.
One time I called and
That
Mom
you-
said he's here eating breakfast, and I just looked at my watch.
That you kind of hang out and watch cartoons. But see, here's the thing. This is the thing that I think you're not getting. I think that is absolutely okay if that's what you want to do. I mean, if wanting to be self-employed and, making $10,000 a year or something like that, if that's what you want to do,
That's okay with me too.
as long as you're not bleeding other people dry to supplement that. That's the thing. Because I've had friends that just, they just don't need much. As long as they got a T-shirt and a pair of tennis shoes and a fairly warm and dry place, I believe they're as happy as I've ever been. I mean, just some people are just that way. They're just not very into the rat race. And that's fine as long as you're not bleeding other people to do it. And if that's what you want to do, which seems to me to be way underachieving for your capabilities, but that's not my judgment. If that's what you want to do, no problem. As long as your parents and your sister, or your grandparents, your uncle, whoever, are not having to take money that they work hard for and give you so you can be bohemian. Do you see what I'm saying?
I get that.
So if that's the problem, why don't you pay your grandfather rent or go live in your van down by the river or get a place, you know, out in the country or something where it's within your means and you're comfortable and you like it, and then you don't have anybody, you say you don't like to answer to a boss, then don't answer to your family either. Just don't ask anything of them financially and do what you want to do. Because like I say, you got no kids, you got no wife, you got, as long as you're happy, what difference does it make? As long as you're not taken from other people.
Okay.
I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
And then you can do whatever you want to do.
Grandpa needs his house back. He's 91. He's got a tender heart, and his exact words to me were, "What is a tender-hearted grandpa to do?" And he just hung his head. And I just wanted to cry. He doesn't get the concept of tough love.
But see,
that's what I feel like my role has been.
But take
in this
Grandpa
situation.
out of the mix. You can do that. I mean, you can do that. You can just take him out of the mix and just say, you know, he's right. The guy's 91. He's tired. Let's give him. I'm not gonna engage him. You would be comfortable if he would say that, right?
Yeah.
Will you do that? Will you take Grandpa out of the mix?
I will.
But will it come back?
Well,
I want this cycle. I want him to get the help that he needs so the cycle can stop and he can be on his own and
but
not
he doesn't want any
depend-
help. He doesn't need it. He's happy with his. You're happy with your life, right?
Yes.
That's fine.
Then all
That's
you got to
fine.
do is just take. The thing to do is put up the wall so he stops taking from the family. And then if that's what he wants to do, you've got to accept that, sis.
But it's almost like he's cut off from the family. Then he's doing his own thing. He's off and whatever. He doesn't think we approve of his lifestyle. He doesn't want to come around and be part of the family.
You don't.
I want us to be a family unit. I want to be unified. I want him to get the help that he needs so that he doesn't cycle, you know, back to Grandpa's. I don't have enough. It's just gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for years.
We'll be right back. See, you don't control him. He's not his brother. Today we've been talking about family members who are described by their family as being moochers. And you're saying you have a whole list of things that you want fixed about your brother, but the problem is he's not your kid, he's not your husband, and you don't have any control over him. And you want him to want things he doesn't want.
Exactly.
You want him to want to be involved with the family but not take from them. You want him to want to be more industrious and make more out of himself.
Only if he wants to.
And all
I
of
get
that. But frankly, you're pretty happy with your lifestyle, right?
Yes.
And I bet your blood pressure's about 80/60.
Yeah, I don't easily get worked up. No.
Pulse rate about 40.
Yeah.
Kind of standing around. Got your foot up on your engine. You know, so what you.
As long as he's not taking
But
money
let's do
from my
this in
dad,
steps. The
but
idea
he's
is,
still
I mean-
asking for money. It's
Yeah.
not done. He still
Yeah.
asked my parents for money this last week.
Okay, and
It's got to stop.
But look, you got to talk to your parents. You got to tell them to say no, sorry,
I
no.
should have had them on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand Grandpa not being here because he's 91. We don't drag him to California, make him stand up here, you know, all of that. So, but you've agreed that you shouldn't be doing that with your grandfather, right? And so you get that.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, let's see what happens. Will you keep me posted?
I'll keep you posted.
And if you want to do something different, you tell me. You tell me, not you tell me that you want him to. You tell me, and we'll talk about that. All right? You keep me posted. I want to hear from you within a month.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Promise?
That sounds great.
All right. For more advice on how to get your adult child living on their own, if you're not, or your brother, for that matter, go to drphil.com. We'll have some points there that are very action-oriented. Thanks for being here.